Hello, hello, hello. This is Sales coming from Bemis Crafty Corner. And I bought these. I got these from Brenda Price's auction. And had quite a nice stack of them for just a couple of bucks. And at first I thought, I'll pop holes in them and I'll turn them into a journal. And then I said, no, they look like tags. I'm going to make them into giant tags. And so I have a couple of different ideas of what I'm going to be doing with them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it from this to this. Okay? So I think that this is like the perfect size to put on the back of a journal. And these little boogers are just under 5 inches wide, and they are just a hair under 8 inches tall. So I thought, what an idea to make like a giant tag to put into a journal, right? And you could even, like if you wanted to, you could even put two of them together and make like a journal in a journal. But I wanted to make these giant tags that I thought would look cute in the back of a journal. So let's get rid of these and let's get out some stuff and let's get started on how we're going to do this. All right, so I've picked two colors. The first one here is an Apple Barrel Indoor Gloss Paint. This is Purple Velvet. And the other one is Folk Art Metallic. This is Peridot. So I'm going to start with the Peridot here. And all I'm going to do is just sponge some color onto my piece. And I just want to kind of get both of these coated pretty liberally. And so I'm just going to pounce this on here. A little bit more paint to get to the bottom. Okay. So a fairly even coating here. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of switch positions here. And again, I am going to be sponging on the paint. Now, if your paint gets to be too thick to do this, and sometimes it will when it's a little older, don't add water. There's a couple of fillers that you can add to it that will thin it up a little bit. And one of those is called Floetrol, and it's pretty inexpensive. It's about $12 for a quart. So it will last a very long time. You can pick it up at most like Home Depots, or you can just buy a thinner, and that will help to thin your paint out a little bit. Now, a lot of people just say, oh, just add a little water to it. And you can do that, but you are going to lose some of the acrylic quality. So you may lose some of your coverage, you may lose some of your color, some of your tint. All of those things can be affected. All right, so we are going to let these dry in the chosen colors, and then we'll be back to see if they need a second coat, or if we can just go ahead and coat the backs of them. And I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to coat the backs, but I do want to let these dry real quick. Worry about the front, and then we'll worry about the back when we get to it, okay? All right, so I'll be back as soon as these are dry, and we'll take a look. Okay, so the first one, we did the Peridot. I went ahead and I cut down a piece of trim that I had just to get these stones on the bottom here. And then I added some words and a couple of pieces of bling, and then I decoupaged a peacock feather, basically covering the whole tag, and then just mirrored that color in the tassel. And on the back of this, I have placed some lined writing paper. Now, I did edge the sides and everything with black, but I am going to do the paper on the back with vintage photo, just because I want it to have a little dirty look to it. So we're just going to add a little bit of this to the back here. There we go. And I found this really cool image in my steampunk files. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more ink to this. Just to kind of cover any white that I left when I fussy cut it. Because we all know how much I love to fussy cut. Not at all. And I'm going to glue this onto the back. But before I do that, I think I'm going to take out these two pieces here. Probably the easiest way to do that is going to be using my ceramic pen. So, and this does take a little bit of practice to get used to using, but kind of once you get it, it's fairly easy to do. Okay, should be that one as well. I'm going to take this out the back, and that way if it does pull, it doesn't pull all the ink off of here. And now that I have it open, come in with a little bit of ink just on that edge to make sure that I don't have anything white showing. And I'm going to be using a very small brush for that, just to brush in some of that ink. Okay. And then I'm just going to glue this down on the back of the tag. Normally, I would use just plain cardstock to do an image, but I decided on this one that I would use some textured cardstock to add just another dimension to the clothing, because I didn't want it to look flat. I wanted it to have some movement, so I used a nice rippled cardstock. Really just want this right on the edge here. Now I could use my Xyron to make sure that I had adhesive all over the back of this, but comfortable with the glue on this one. So that's the peacock tag that we did with the peridot, and we're going to move on to the purple one. And I've had a really hard time with this one. Not quite sure what I wanted to do with it. So let's start with putting a piece of writing paper on the back. Pretty easy to do. This one's purple, so let's pick some purplish paper. I happen to have a purple mini legal pad that is pretty much the size we want it to be. Not worried about this part up here. And I will run this through my Xyron, and that will allow me to put it on here. So I'm going to go ahead and get my Xyron, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now that we have finished the green tag, I want to work on the purple one. And the first thing I want to do is I want to get something covering the back of this tag. So, writing surface. I have a light lavender writing tablet. I'm going to take a piece of that. I'm going to be using my Xyron for this. Pretty easy. This is the 900. So I'm going to open the back and put my piece of paper in and just kind of crank it through. And then I'm just going to cut off my paper, which now is a gigantic sticker. Get rid of this. And then I'm just going to use a bone folder to press this down, make sure that I get a lot of adhesive on the back. And then I'm going to remove the film from the top. I'm going to reserve this, though, because it's kind of important later. All right. Now I'm going to pull this up. And I'm going to line this on my paper here where I want it. There we go. And again, just use my bone folder to press it down. Okay. And then I can come back in here with my razor and just take these pieces off. All right. A little bit right there. Okay. So now I have that on. Let's turn it over. Let's take a look at the other side. Now, I went through a lot of things trying to figure out what I wanted to put on this one. I went with some roses. No. I went with some fabric. No. I tried some appliques. I don't think so. So, what I finally came up with is a piece of art from Daniel Merriman. And it's this piece right here. And I just removed part of the image here. And inked this up with some purple ink. And I think it fits really nice right here. But then I had this like really open space and I didn't know what to do with it. So I had this kind of lavender shimmer piece. And so I thought, well, let me figure out how I can work this in. Let's see.
Yeah, IP address wouldn't help, but you said you have a service address? What is that?
Kind of like this in here. Let's just do a little bit more investigating.
I'm sorry. I apologize. It's a little hard to hear you. You're breaking up every now and again.
I don't want it up there because it just looks like it drops off. It looks a little bit better down here. So I think I'm going to put it down there.
5565.
So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue on this. Now,
You said gross point?
it's a little difficult to do because it's a big piece, and I could do this with my Xyron, but then I end up with a lot of basically like sticky areas, and I'd rather just come through with my needle point and just put a little bit of glue all over.
And what state is this in?
Making sure that I get the edges the most. Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to come in and put some glue on the back of my image.
You know if that's San Diego or Santa Barbara, Palos Verdes, Orange County?
Alright, so I'm going to put my image down with the back first. Some layering, making sure that I'm meeting at the bottom of the tag. I don't want to extend past the bottom. And then I'm going to take my piece, I'm going to slide it in here where I want it to be. There we go. A little bit of glue here. And I'm just using my bone folder to kind of press everything because I want to make sure that it gets well adhered. And anything that lifts, I'm just going to put more glue in.
San Diego, Orange County, Palos Verdes, Santa Barbara. You said
Okay.
that was 5565 gross month as GROSSMONTE.
All right, we're going to give this a few minutes to dry. I'm going to get out some embellishments and we're going to see what we can do with this thing, okay? I'll be right back.
Right.
Okay, so now we have these elements down and we have paper on the back. We need to kind of decide where our top is going to be here. So, let's get out the pliers. Find the middle. Let's pop a hole. I think you should just stick with purple. So I'm going to go ahead and set a brad in here. Set an eyelet. Put a back piece on. I always have to kind of check it because my hands just aren't as strong as they used to be. That's better. Okay. All right. And then I looked at a couple of trims. I looked at some pom-pom, and I said, you know, if I want to put this into a pocket, the pom-pom is going to be an issue, so we decided not to do that. I tried this purple knit, and as much as I like it, I just don't like it on this because it doesn't even show up. So I decided to go with this vintage piece. And this is like a vintage looking gold lame with some purple silk in it. And I like it, so that's what I'm going to go with. And we're going to use the Old Faithful here. Bog of Eternal Stench. Okay. I measured this off camera and pre-cut it, and what I did is when I cut the angle, I used my torch to just burn the ends so that this did not fray. So I'm just going to get that where we want it. Wipe off the excess here. And then it's just a matter of kind of detailing this. I'm going to get out some of my sparkle here. Some very tiny brushes. And I have a moon back in here that I want to just bring up a little bit. So I'm just going to take a little bit of my sparkle, get it on my brush, and I'm just going to kind of add a little sparkle to the face. And then I think I'm also going to put some down here. Got a little bit of a white highlight here, right here, and then right here. And it's like smoke. It's wisping. This is like a, well, it's hard to explain, but it's like smoke that's actually birds. So this is the bellies of the birds. So I'm just going to put that in there. Bring that up just a little bit. Come back up in here. Get this face a little more. Just so that when I turn it and I move it, I've got a little movement here. And I kind of like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put this away now. And the only thing that's really left on this to do is the ribbon at the top and some bling. So let's do this. I think I want to stick to the little pieces. Ooh, I'm breaking a rule. I'm a rebel. Yep, I'm a rebel. Let's take a look at some of this. All right, so hemostats, very important here. So I'm going to go ahead and put this through from the back to the front. And use the hemostats to pull it through. And then I'm going to use them to go through the loops. And grab the ribbon and bring it back through. The reason I'm doing this is because I'm using multiple layers of ribbon. Whenever you use multiple layers of ribbon, it's really hard to get it to fit through there. So now one of the things that I do is I pull each cord individually, and that helps to just tighten everything down. Bring that all together. All right, these are way too long. So I'm going to take these down. That's better. And I think these we're going to take down a little bit too. A little bit of a haircut here. And then I want these to be snipped in. There we go. All right. All right. So here's my tags. This is the first one that I did. This was the demonstration tag. And I did this one in such a way that I used sort of a monochromatic here. Basically used the white as the background and then just little pops of the brown in the metal here, in the shirt, and in the top, just to kind of draw your attention. So that is the first one that I did. It has a little bit of work left to do on it. I still need to finish the back, but it is otherwise complete. And the second one that I did was the one that we started together and I finished off camera, and that was the peacock feather that I have basically Mod Podged onto the card here. Now I did complete the back of this one, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. So on the back I have some lined paper, and I just added a flat image here that I put on some textured cardstock just to give it a little bit of movement, and did some fussy cutting on that just to make it fit on the card correctly. And then of course I matched the trim at the top to the peacock feather. And the last one that I did, which is the one that you actually watched me do, which is this one here, the Dare to Dream tag. And we just added a little bit of shimmer to it to give it some movement. We added a few different elements to it. We started on the back of it. I do have a little bit of work to do. I'm trying to find the right picture to go on the back here. And then I went ahead and added a little bit of bling here. on a square rosette just to kind of take up a little bit of that space. So that's it. That's my 3 gigantic tags made from children's flashcards. So until I see you again, do me a favor, hit that red button for me and subscribe. Like me, ring my bell, and share me with all your friends because I'm making giant tags and who knows what else. Till the next time, guys. Bye-bye.